A tiny 6-year-old child found herself thrust into the cold backyard, moments after watching her father's coffin lowered into the ground. Her stepmother and the woman's companion wasted no time. They seized the grieving girl and doused her with freezing water, claiming they needed to cleanse her of misfortune. She held tight to her beloved stuffed animal, her little body shaking as she stood before what was supposed to be her home. Then, without warning, an expensive vehicle came to a sudden stop at the curb. A successful businessman emerged, wrapped his jacket around her trembling form, and uttered just a few words that would spark a battle where wrongdoing would finally face consequences. Before we dive deeper, please share your initial reactions to this tale in the comments below and rate it between 1 and 10. How are you feeling right now? If something's weighing on your heart and you need someone to listen, I'm here for you. Take a moment to breathe as we journey through this uplifting story of bravery and righteousness. The heavy front door shut, with finality behind the funeral party returning from the graveyard. An oppressive silence filled the space, broken only by the relentless ticking of the grandfather clock that seemed to pound like a judge's gavel. Little Emma Collins, just 6 years old, pressed her threadbare teddy bear against her heart. Her eyes were puffy and crimson from endless tears. That precious bear represented her final connection to her mother, who had perished in a devastating crash several years prior. Now her beloved father, Richard Collins, a respected entrepreneur and devoted dad, had succumbed to his lengthy battle with illness. Standing in the expansive mansion, Emma felt impossibly tiny and suffocated. Karen Collins, 35, and cunning, had entered their lives merely 2 years earlier as Emma's new stepmother. Throughout the morning's burial service, she had performed brilliantly, sobbing dramatically and dabbing at crocodile tears with practiced precision. But the instant that door clicked shut, her mask slipped away entirely. Her expression turned arctic, her gaze fixing on Emma with zero warmth or mercy, as though the child were nothing more than an annoying burden to be disposed of. May I help tidy up for you, Mama?" Emma's voice quavered with hope and desperation. Karen whirled around, releasing a harsh, mocking sound that cut through the air like broken glass. Her tone dripped with superiority and disdain. "Listen carefully, little girl. I am now the mistress of this estate and the one who calls the shots. Don't you dare put on that sweet act trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for you." Emma went rigid, squeezing her treasured bear even closer, her small fingers pressing into its worn fabric. At that very moment, the entrance swung open, and a man barged in, dragging his luggage behind him and letting it crash onto the marble floor. Robert Hayes, 38 years old and Richard's younger sibling, stepped inside with newfound confidence. For years, everyone knew him as nothing more than an entitled man living in his successful brother's shadow. Yet today, he strutted through that doorway as if he'd always owned the place. Robert collapsed into the nearest armchair, twisted the cap off a whiskey bottle that was conveniently waiting, and took a generous gulp. Then he studied Emma with cold calculation and spat contemptuously on the polished floor. Well, hello there, Emma. Starting today, I'll be taking over where your pathetic father left off." Emma gasped and stumbled backward, her voice breaking. "Uncle Robert, why? Why are you in Daddy's house? This is where Daddy and I live." Karen spun to face her, each word hitting like a physical blow to the child's face. Her voice was razor sharp and filled with venom. "Your father is gone forever. Do you comprehend that? In this household, I make every decision, and my partner is now Robert. From this point forward, you have zero authority to speak unless spoken to. Either stay silent or leave immediately." Emma stood paralyzed, moisture gathering in her wide eyes. Robert released a cruel laugh, his voice dripping with mockery and malice. "Just look at yourself. a pitiful little parasite who does nothing but weep and clutch that disgusting stuffed toy. Your father was an absolute fool for spoiling you rotten. You probably think you're some sort of royalty. Well, you're more like damaged goods. In this house, you're nothing but an ugly reminder of what we want to forget, a weight around our necks that needs to be thrown out. Emma's whole body trembled as she hugged her bear tighter. I'll behave perfectly. I promise I won't cause any trouble. Karen suddenly leaped to her feet, her eyes blazing with pure cruelty. She grabbed Emma's thin arm and snatched the small suitcase that had already been packed with the girl's few shabby belongings. The precious teddy bear was ripped from Emma's desperate grasp and hurled into the yard like garbage. Karen stormed outside, carrying a metal bucket filled with icy water. Get out of my house. I'm finished pretending to be your caring mother, you troublesome little pest. Your father died. Your mother died, all because of the curse you bring. I need to wash away the contamination you spread, you jinx child. Just seeing your face makes me sick, let alone having you pollute the same roof. Emma cried out in terror. No, Mama, please. I'm freezing. I swear I'll be perfect. I won't say another word. Corinne's face twisted with rage. You are not my blood. Never call me that again. I will never accept a worthless leech like you. I don't want to see your disgusting face in this house for even one more second. Get out. She hurled the entire bucket of freezing water directly onto Emma. The liquid soaked through her hair and clothing, penetrating to her skin until she shook uncontrollably. The sodden teddy bear lay crushed on the ground beneath Robert's boot as he crossed his arms and sneered with satisfaction. Look at that pathetic sight, no different from a mangy stray dog. Seems perfectly appropriate for her station. Emma pressed her palms together, her eyes wide with desperate pleading as she searched frantically for help. Several neighbors had gathered at a safe distance, but the moment her gaze found theirs, they quickly slammed their doors and retreated inside. Nobody had the courage to interfere. Emma collapsed onto the wet ground, gathering her destroyed bear into her arms. Her tears mixed with the frigid water streaming down her cheeks. Her broken voice pierced the darkness. Double quotes, Daddy. Where am I supposed to go now? Suddenly, the rumble of a powerful engine echoed through the night. An elegant Cadillac glided too. A stop directly outside the gate. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out, dressed in an impeccable dark suit. His eyes were intelligent yet filled with shock as he froze, staring at the heartbreaking scene beyond the fence. A 6-year-old girl huddled in the yard, drenched to the bone, her eyes swollen red, clutching an old toy as though it were her only. Anchored to hope, his gaze revealed a pain he couldn't conceal. The man's fists clenched as memories of his own abandoned childhood came flooding back. He stepped forward, his voice rough with emotion. What in God's name is happening here? The man was Ethan Collins, 40 years old, and a self-made millionaire frequently featured in prestigious publications like Forbes, Fortune, and the New York Times. He had constructed a real estate empire stretching across multiple states. Known as a ruthless strategist in business circles, he kept his personal life shrouded in secrecy. Few people understood that behind his glamorous public image, he carried deep scars from a wounded childhood, abandoned once, living in constant fear of his stepfather's violence and his mother's emotional neglect. The gate creaked open as Ethan Collins entered the rain-soaked courtyard, moving slowly forward. His expensive suit jacket rippled gently in the breeze as he approached, his sharp features still showing shock at the sight of the small girl, shivering violently in the middle of the yard. Soaked with cold water. Ethan carefully removed his coat and wrapped it around Emma's shoulders. Her tiny frame trembled beneath the lingering warmth in the fabric. Emma looked up, her tear-streaked eyes flickering with fragile hope. Her small hand clutched the edge of his coat as if terrified he might Disappear. Ethan tightened his grip gently on her shoulder, then raised his head. His voice emerged hoarse, each word pressed down with barely controlled fury. Richard hasn't even been in the ground for 24 hours. Is this how you honor his daughter? Karen blinked rapidly, her shoulders shaking slightly. A single fake. Tear rolled down her cheek. Her voice quivered, though it carried an icy undertone. You don't understand, Ethan. I was simply trying to teach her proper manners and respect. The child is defiant and disrespectful to her uncle. I was just giving her a small scare to correct her behavior. Robert released a mocking laugh and blew cigarette smoke in Ethan's direction. I'm her uncle, and I suggest you stop interfering in family business. You already missed the funeral entirely, and now you want to play hero? This situation is none of your concern, so back off. A cold flash flickered in Ethan's eyes. Memories surged through his mind. At 15, it was Richard, the very friend now resting in the cemetery, who had pulled him out of nights filled with brutal beatings, out from under the kitchen table, where he hid from his stepfather's fists. Richard had offered him shelter, genuine friendship, and hope. Now, witnessing this scene, Ethan knew the time had come to repay that debt. Emma tapped at his sleeve, her voice trembling with fear and desperation. Sir, they're going to throw me out again. I have absolutely nowhere else to go. Please, please help me. Ethan looked down at her. In that moment, the terror in Emma's young eyes was identical to the fear he had once carried in his own. He drew a deep breath, then turned back to face Karen and Robert with steely determination. She's coming with me, he stated firmly, leaving. No room for negotiation. Karen tilted her head, her eyes glinting with malice. She opened her mouth to protest, but Robert placed his hand on her elbow and lowered his voice with a mocking laugh. Let him take the brat. That little curse will come crawling back sooner or later. Karen paused, swallowing her anger and forcing a twisted smile. She muttered through gritted teeth, Fine, if you want to play the hero, go right ahead. Let's see how long you can handle carrying her burden. She has nothing but bad luck. Ethan didn't respond. He simply bent down, lifted Emma into his arms, and walked straight through the gate. A sleek Cadillac Escalade was waiting, its door opening, and closing softly behind them. Inside the vehicle, Emma sat pressed against the leather seat, her small hands still clutching the old teddy bear. Her wide eyes shimmered with worry before she whispered, her voice barely louder than a breath. Sir ... Are you going to abandon me too, just like my stepmother did? Ethan gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles turning white. Outside, rows of trees blurred past as they drove through the night. Inside his chest, old memories stirred, nights when he sat shivering by a window, waiting for a hand to lift him up. A hand that never came. He swallowed hard, his gaze fixed firmly on the road ahead. Not a single word left his lips, only the steady hum of the engine filled the silence. The tension in his hands was so strong that Emma could feel it. The car surged into the darkness, carrying with it an unanswered question in Emma's heart. The fear had not yet eased. In Ethan's eyes, past and present collided, signaling a journey whose ending remained unwritten. Content continues with the same paraphrasing style, maintaining emotional depth while using completely different sentence structures and word choices. Thank you for being with us. Every view and every piece of feedback you share encourages us to keep going, so we can continue sharing stories that heal, stories that remind us that at the end of every dark road, light is always waiting.